Okay, y'all, tricks to installing this screen tight with aluminum screens. It's a lot different than the vinyl ones. You should know because you're gonna do it. So. Let me just try to show you if I can see this in the camera now. Yeah, okay. So these are the the strips that go around the outside that hold the screen in, and then there's a rubber spline that you roll over top of the screen into into these grooves. Well, with vinyl, you just put the screen up there. And this thing has two different sides. It's got a convex side that's rounded outwards and a concave side that's rounded inwards. With the vinyl, all you really need to use is you just set the vinyl up there, the spline on top of it, take the concave side of the roller and roll it in there, and it's done. The aluminum is a lot different because it's a lot stiffer, and it bends and creases. If you lay it on pebbles or something, it'll get little marks. If you drop a tool on it, it'll get a mark. You get, a dent you can't get out. With the vinyl, you can almost crumple that stuff up and undo it and stretch it tight, and it's ready to go. Aluminum's a lot different. Okay, what they don't tell you about the aluminum is their only instruction on the website that I could see was get a smaller diameter spline because the aluminum screen is thicker than the vinyl, so you need a smaller spline to be able to get them both in there. Well, that's just part of it. And on top of that, the big box store I was at, they sell everything in there except the spline. So you have to, I imagine they're not selling too much of it. They must not be because you have to order that. And I just ordered it on my own and got it for a lot better price than they were going to sell it anyways on the internet. But a couple of things you have to know. These two over here on the left, I did the other day. I mean, they were rough. I mean, it was hard. It was, and they're tight as a bell now. Everything is, but to try to get that spline in there, even doing the first step, and what the first step is you cut it about 6 inches wider than your panel all the way around, and one of them's a factory edge. So what I did was just tack them up with the factory edge a few inches above the top header thing, so you can see from the factory edge you get it all squared like that. So I just tacked it up there, but you can't, it'd be nice if you could tack all four sides and get it straight and then roll it in there, but you can't do that because, this is 1/8 of an inch or so in here that the screen has to go in and the spline. So that's, you do it too tight, you're just going to cut everything when you try to force in there. So I just put that up there temporarily, and then what you have to do, I'll show you. Matter of fact, I think I read this on a screen package, but that was only half of what I needed also. Okay, so here's your screen. And what I would do, once you get your this base down in your panel, take a couple scrap pieces, maybe the old screen or something, and try it. Get used to how it feels and stuff, because it's not easy. If you do it wrong, it's going to cut the screen. You could have an hour and a half worth of work into one of those panels, and be down to the last couple foot of rolling that in there, and your screen's dented or ripped or whatever. You don't want that. So you take the convex side, your screen's laying up there, you're on a ladder or whatever, and the first thing you do is gently roll it in there. If you try to jam it in there too tight, on the first roll, it's probably going to rip the screen. You're going to have to start over. So you do it, gently, and you got to roll it back and forth until you get it to where you're hitting the back of this base thing with your roller. That way it's all the way in there. So on these two on the left, that's how I started. And seemed okay. But then I went to put the spline in, and so it's like this. Is that mine in the picture? So it's like this, and you got your spline in. Oh, and don't try to start at a corner, because the roller just doesn't like to get in there, and it's a pain in the butt. So you can start, a few inches away from the corner, and roll it towards the corner, and then do the whole rest of it. But then you take your convex side, or no, your concave side, and you would think from the instructions and doing the vinyl ones that it's just you just roll it on in there. Well, it took every bit of strength I had to try to get it in there. And I can't even do it now, unless I have maybe I can. No, see, I mean, it's just tough to get in there. And then you got it like that went in there. But, doing something that tough all the way around, it's hard. And see, if your thing goes off just a little bit, it'll cut that screen, and you got to start over again. So that was just too tough to do it that way. So I'm thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And getting them started is the hardest part. So, and here's another one, the plastic one. It seems to work a little bit better once you get going, but this thing is better for me anyways to get going because it's smaller. So what I ended up having to do, because it was so hard to push that spline in there without tearing a screen, is finally I came up to it and put my screen's hanging here. I'd start up there, of course, but say I'm down here, and you put the screen, the spline over it, and then you take this with the concave side and tap it, and it'll force it into that groove. And that's what I was doing for a little while, but it'd still take everything I had to roll out all four sides of it, and I'm pulling on the spline to try to stretch it to make it easier as I go, and just nothing was working. I tried putting ivory soap or Dawn soap on it, and you might want to try that too, because it does make it a little easier. But finally I got to, and it's still tough, but finally I got to where you get it going, and I like to take the plastic one, and you can, your spline's hanging out here, you can just tap it along like that, and that gets it in there. And but you still, I mean, that made it twice as easy, but it's still a tough job. It's not something a homeowner would want to do on the weekend, unless they're really patient and really had some talents. That's about it. Just this hammer and this thing and the soap and rolling that groove in there in the aluminum screen before you start doing it are big tips. I hope they help somebody out. The only other thing is, you've got this thing hanging up here tacked. You can pretty much roll the top one in without any worries about anything. And what I did was the left one first, and that one can be rolled in with just about no worries also, but you're always looking at the screen to make sure there's no ripples and dents and stuff like that. And then when you get over to the right, I'll come along and you've got this extra down here, so I'm pulling it, trying to get it tight, but you're not putting it in yet. And then go to the right side and pull it tight, and the whole time looking for wrinkles and stuff. And then do your right side, and then the bottom, and then they're tight. They're almost like tennis rackets. So that's it. Oh, and then when you see this stuff, you don't want to make a mistake because it costs you so much time if you have to do it over. Where's my razor knife? So the only other thing that saved me time and the worry about having to do it over after you've done a couple hours work and you're ready to finish, well, what they tell you to do is, and that's how most screens are done, is you're all finished, your screen's in there, the spline's in there. They tell you to cut it, just on this side of the spline. I hope you can see that, just on this side of the spline, like right here. That's not accurate enough for me because, again, it can slip. You cut your screen or bend it, and you have to start all over. So just cut on this side because that gives you a guide for your knife, and it doesn't look as pretty as the other way, but the only person that's ever going to see it is the person that changes them 30 years from now, because there's a cap that of course goes over all that stuff. We always paint them to match the house before we put those caps up. But that's it. I hope those few tips help somebody, because I know I looked on the internet and there's just no help at all, or on Screen Tight's website. All right, good luck.